This is StoryLink Radio. Our stories are presented before a live audience, then recorded for the StoryLink Radio podcast for your on-demand listening pleasure. Please visit StoryLinkRadio.com for show notes, to find out how to join our live audience, and for lots of free stuff, including free audiobooks and much more. This episode is the first chapter of MORTE D'ARTHUR. Please remember to visit www.storylinkradio.com. Chapter 23. How the 12 knights came from Rome and asked truage for this land of Arthur, and how Arthur fought with a knight. When the knight saw him lie so on the ground, he alighted, and was passing heavy, for he weened he had slain him. And then he unlaced his helm, and gat him wind, and so with the truncheon he set him on his horse, and so betook him to God, and said he had a mighty heart, and if he might live, he would prove a passing good knight. And so Sir Griflet rode to the court, where great dole was made for him. But through good leeches he was healed and saved. Right so came into the court 12 knights, and were aged men, and they came from the Emperor of Rome, and they asked of Arthur truage for this realm, other else the Emperor would destroy him and his land. Well, said King Arthur, ye are messengers, therefore ye may say what ye will, other else ye should die therefore. But this is mine answer. I owe the Emperor no truage, nor none will I hold him. But on a fair field I shall give him my truage that shall be with a sharp spear, or else the sharp sword, and that shall not be long, by my father's soul, Uther Pendragon. And therewith the messengers departed passingly wroth, and King Arthur as wroth, for in evil time came they then. For the king was passingly wroth for the hurt of Sir Griflet. And so he commanded a privy of his chamber, that, or it be day his best horse and armor, with all that longeth unto his person, be without the city or tomorrow day. Right so, or tomorrow day, he met with his man and his horse, and so mounted up and dressed his shield and took his spear, and bade his chamberlain tarry there till he came again. And so Arthur rode a soft pace till 'twas day. And then was he ware of 3 churls chasing Merlin, and would have slain him. Then the king rode unto them, and bade them, Flee, churls! Then were they afeard when they saw a knight, and fled. O Merlin, said Arthur, here hadst thou been slain for all thy crafts, had I not been. Nay, said Merlin, not so. For I could save myself, and I would. And thou art more near thy death than I am, for thou goest to the deathward, and God be not thy friend. So as they went thus talking, they came to the fountain, and the rich pavilion there by it. Then King Arthur was where sat a knight armed in a chair. Sir knight, said Arthur, for what cause abidest thou here? That there may no knight ride this way, but if he joust with thee, said the king. I rede thee leave that custom, said Arthur. This custom, said the knight, have I used, and will use maugre who saith nay, and who is grieved with my custom, let him amend it that will. I will amend it, said Arthur. I shall defend thee, said the knight. Anon he took his horse, and dressed his shield, and took a spear, and they met so hard either in other shields, that all two shivered their spears. Therewith anon Arthur pulled out his sword. Nay, not so, said the knight. It is fair, said the knight, that we twain run more together with sharp spears. I will well, said Arthur, an I had any more spears. I have enow, said the knight. And so there came a squire and brought 2 good spears, and Arthur chose one, and he another. And so they spurred their horses, and came together with all their mights, that either brake their spears to their hands. Then Arthur set hand on his sword. Nay, said the knight, ye shall do better. Ye are a passing good jouster as ever I met withal, and once for the love of the high order of knighthood, let us joust once again. I assent me, said Arthur. Anon there were brought 2 great spears, and every knight gat a spear, and therewith they ran together that Arthur's spear all 2 shivered. But the other knight hit him so hard in midst of the shield that horse and man fell to the earth. And therewith Arthur was eager, and pulled out his sword, and said, I will essay thee, Sir Knight, on foot, for I have lost the honour on horseback. I will be on horseback, said the knight. And then was Arthur wroth, and dressed his shield toward him with his sword drawn. When the knight saw that, he alighted, for him thought no worship to have a knight at such avail, he to be on horseback, and he on foot, and so he alighted and dressed his shield unto Arthur. And there began a strong battle with many great strokes, and so hewed with their swords that the cantels flew in the fields, and much blood they bled both, that all the place there as they fought was overbled with blood. And thus they fought long and rested them. And then they went to the battle again, and so hurtled together like two rams that either fell to the earth. So at the last they smote together, that both their swords met even together. But the sword of the knight smote King Arthur's sword in 2 pieces, wherefore he was heavy. Then said the knight unto Arthur, Thou art in my donja, whether me list to save thee or slay thee, but thou yield thee as overcome and recreant, thou shalt die. As for death, said King Arthur, welcome be it when it cometh, but to yield me unto thee as a recreant, I had liefer die than to be so shamed. And therewithal the king leapt on to Pellinore, took him by the middle, and threw him down, and raced off his helm. When the knight felt that he was adread, for he was passing big man of might, and anon he brought Arthur under him, and raced off his helm, and would have smitten off his head. Check back soon for the next chapter of MORTE D'ARTHUR. Thank you for listening to StoryLink Radio. If you like what you've just heard, we hope you will subscribe to our podcast and pass along our web address, www.storylinkradio.com. Be sure to visit our website for show notes, to find out how to join our live audience, and for lots of free stuff, including free audiobooks and much more. Join us next time for another story from StoryLink Radio.